Well, what is going on, YouTube people? Well, we got what we asked for. We asked for someone to come out and take a stand one way or the other, and PSA has given us official word. This is from Ryan, the president over at PSA. This was announced yesterday. I was going to do a video on it last night, but then it ran in the off center, and I just didn't have time to record it for today. So a little late on this one. But PSA has come out and addressed the 101 Wemby. And to be quite honest, this went down kind of how I thought it was going to go down. Here is their official. PSA does not approve of any chemicals or foreign substances being added to the surface of a card to improve the condition or appearance. If we detect that this has happened to any card, we will consider it altered. So there you have it. Kurt's Card Care, Mr. Minty, all the nonsense. They consider that altering and would say so. Problem, not problem. Massive asterisks. Key little phrase. If we detect, that's the problem. We're basically, even though they came out and said this is already kind of what their terms and services were. That, card cleaning, they never come out and straight said it this clean cut before, but it comes down to the if we detect. Now, I've had this conversation with SGC Pete, SGC, and PSA, though as much as we, dream them being one company, they are not, and they were not when Peter made this comment. Peter had basically said, problem is, we can't detect this stuff because there's nothing there to detect. If you're putting spray on the card, and the way that I understand it, the spray is basically mostly distilled water to some degree or another, you're never going to be able to detect that. It's just never going to happen. So, though they could come out and say, don't do it, with the key asterisks of if we detect, but we all know you can't detect it, so everyone that's still doing it is just going to keep doing it, which is where we all knew that this was going to end. Like I said yesterday, what I really wanted to see happen here was us to move beyond this gray area. And let's just bring this out into the open and accept this is just a normal now. This is just the way that it is now. Let's embrace card cleaning and say, hey, yes, it's there. You could do it. Let's move on. But PSA, anyways, I shouldn't say all the grading companies. We've only heard from PSA. I doubt we'll hear from any of the others since PSA is weighed in. PSA is choosing to play both sides of the fence, basically, which I get. I do understand why they are doing it this way, because it's the path of least resistance. Because what this allows them to do is to the section of the hobby, let's just call them the purists. I don't want my cards touched. I want them virgin, straight from the pack, however the manufacturer deemed. I want them in their purest form. They could go to those people and go, look, see? No card cleaning. No, get the Mr. Yuck stickers out that we used to get as kids in elementary school. And they'd put them on the chemicals at home for the stuff that you weren't allowed to drink as a toddler. Put a big Mr. Yuck sticker on it. Nope. We don't allow it. See, we say right here, black and white. Nope, don't allow it. But on the flip side, everyone actually doing the card cleaning knows PSA, and you could insert all the grading companies here. The grading companies either legitimately can't detect it, which I don't believe that they can. They cannot detect it, don't want to detect it, aren't even looking for it, or some combination of all three. So it still allows everyone that's doing card cleaning to continue to do it. Because as we've discussed multiple times before, whether the grading companies want to admit it publicly or not, deep down somewhere in a boardroom with, no electronic recording devices, no whiteboards, no nothing, I'm sure they've had the conversation about, boy, man, thank God for this card cleaning, because it sure does increase crack and resubs. We're going to be in business for years. Everyone that gets a PSA 9 or a 9 graded card or a 9.5 graded card, and on a hope and a dream and a little bit of elbow grease think they can turn it into a 10, more business for us. This is great. So this was from a business decision standpoint. This allows them to not upset the purists and still allow the new school to do whatever they want in regards to card cleaning, as long as nothing is left on the card. I was hoping we could just move beyond that and just call a spade and be done with it like the comic book industry did. Wishful thinking on my part, I knew, but hey, we gave it a shot, we talked about it, and now it is back to status quo, I guess. One of the other grading companies, I guess, could come out and take a different stance. I don't know that I necessarily see that happening. It would be interesting if one of them did. If one of the other 3-letter acronym companies came out and was like, hey, you know what? Yep, let it ride. But I don't necessarily see that happening either. So we're right back to where we all started. PSA says don't do it. If we catch it, you're in trouble. But it's pretty clear we don't think they can catch it. So just keep doing what you're doing, I guess. And Kurt's Card Care had one of the best free marketing weeks of their recent existence. So we're going to keep this one short. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. This topic has now been talked to death. I think we could finally put the nail in the coffin. The people that do not like card cleaning will continue to not like card cleaning. The people that are all for it, which, I mean, boy, based off the comments, the amount of cards that are getting juiced, I've seen a lot of people refer to this as like the steroid era of baseball, and it's like the steroid era of slabs. You know, they're getting juiced up, and as long as McGuire and Sosa keep hitting home runs and Bonds, we're all having a good time, and nobody cares. There's also been, Dustin did a video on this, and I've seen Dan the Cardman talk about this as well, about, we don't necessarily know the long-lasting impacts of this stuff, which is true. We necessarily don't, but let's not kid ourselves. This stuff's been around for a while. Prior to an actual formalized product, people were just using car wax. So people have been shining up chrome cards since they existed, which goes back to the 90s. So you could guarantee you have, if you're a big 90s collector and you have some 90s refractors, that back in the 90s, especially if they're in an old PSA slab, but even now, if they've been crossed over to a new slab before, I'd be willing to bet at some point in time, those Griffey baseball refractors or whatever it is that you got, probably got shined up with some turtle wax. And we are now almost 30 years later in some cases, and those cards are still standing the test of time. So I think we kind of know to some degree that this stuff is not going to have at least medium-term consequences on chrome cards anyway. Some of the other stuff, that's a little bit of a different story. But I think the chrome cards were a little safer on. There's the greening issue, but that has nothing to do with cleaning. That had to do more with the tech of the cards when they were designed. So that puts a nail in this coffin. Hopefully we can move on from this topic, and it will not circle back around again. But I have a sneaking suspicion 6, 8, 9 months from now, something will happen, and there'll be another card cleaning discussion to be had. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. Catch you on the next one. Peace.